On today's episode of the Virginia Investor Podcast, we're sitting down with Trevor Persaud. He's got an awesome story, born in Guyana, and then all the way to acquiring rentals, courthouse step deals, flips, new construction, stockpiling infill lots, having a long tenured W-2 and corporate career, and then figuring out how to pivot out of that and get deeper into real estate and new construction. Trevor, I've heard your name for many years now, since I got in real estate in 2018, but I've heard your name at least the past few years since I've been in real estate, and it's been getting more and more and more. And I see more and more about you. I see the people that you surround yourself with in this network, the network of people that you have around you, and they're great people. And so today is actually our first day meeting in person, but I've been following your success for a while now. I'm really interested in digging into your story and learning more about how you got here. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. First of all, thank you for inviting me, chasing me down. We were talking earlier about why would you be interested in me, and I didn't realize, but you're not the first person to say that. They kind of follow my story.
Right.
But a lot of it is like we run in the same circles, but it's just like Richmond is so small, and the thing is, it's very easy to have a negative name, or hey, don't do this business, or this person is like this, and then people know your name,
right,
even if they don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
So that speaks volume of your integrity, your ethics, how you do business, if you want to be around that person. So
yeah, your reputation is everything in a market like this. Like, I would assume, I don't have experience in it, but I assume in a bigger market, you probably could ruin your reputation and go to the different side of the city and kind of start over. But in Richmond, if you're doing business here, Central Virginia area, your reputation is everything. And so seeing what you're doing and seeing the network that you carry and stuff, I absolutely am excited to learn more about your story and how you got into this. I want to start, you were born in Guyana, so that tells me already without learning much more that you probably faced some adversity. You've probably seen different things than I have, and experienced different things than I have. What was it like being born in a different country? What do you remember from that time period?
When I came here, I was like 7 or 8. I remember 1981, I came to the U.S., came to Brooklyn, New York, October. So that was the first time I ever experienced cold. And on top of that, snow.
Right.
So when we came, they didn't have the clothes, they didn't have coats and stuff, and had my mother's friend, and it was like an aunt, but it wasn't really family, but she was an aunt, right? We stayed with them for a while, and in a brownstone, she just got us coats and stuff like that. Eventually we moved like a couple of houses down and stayed right there, close, but it was just like coming here, because in Guyana, you're right there at the equator. So the temperature is constant, it's warm, it's hot, but not like the humidity and all of that. But so it was just like a culture shock. And then the kids that I went to school with there, it was different than the kids here in New York. And then in 1981, looking back, I was like, oh my God. That was like the crack epidemic exploded then. It was like, it was just compared to what New York was in 1981 to now is completely different.
Why did you come to America? What did your parents do for a living? What brought them here?
So my parents were originally school teachers. My mother was a school teacher. My father was in the government. So a lot of it was just getting out a better life for the kids. Because a lot of it was just, the government was more, I don't want to say a dictatorship, but it wasn't, you didn't have a lot of power and choices like we do here in America. So it's just like one of the things of, it's a thing of, up to this day, it's very party affiliated. So you're going to be with this party or that party. Funny, it sounds like America somewhat, but it's like extreme. It's just like, looking back on it, it's like you have the have and the have-nots.
Right.
You have a good life. It's more of a slow-paced life, but very, your family, friends, so it's closer like that. So
So was it your parents' search for a better life for you guys, or were they escaping anything for safety or anything like that?
I heard, and my father, my mother mentioned it. My father said it was something within the government, and he was in the customs role. So it was more so of, hey, getting him. He wanted to get out because I think it was something within the government going on. he never really got into detail.
Right.
Even to this day, when I ask him about certain things, he's very answer the question, very to the point.
Right.
It's just like, oh, okay,
Right.
all right. I could ask him now, but you have to kind of get the answer and get the full story. You have to He has to warm up to the situations. He's like right now he's retired. He makes a good income off of the stock market. Funny, when I sat there and looked at him, just watching, I'm in the kitchen making sure he's okay. He's watching more of the news as far as the markets, things like that. So he's very in tune with the markets. Even my banker talked to him, and she's like, wow. She's like, I learned a lot talking to him. Mm-hmm. And, because he's just been in tune. And he had worked on Wall Street, too. So it was just a thing of coming and starting at the bottom and then moving up and taking advantages of the things that he liked. There were certain things that at the time he could have gotten into because one of my uncles came to him and said, hey, let's buy, and this was like in the 80s, McDonald's franchise in Chicago, but he was just more so type of, this is my lane, this is what I stick to. I know these are investments. I know certain things. He wasn't on the business side. I'm going to go be an entrepreneur, self-employed, things like that. And you know what? It worked for him and worked very well. And you have to realize there are some people that being their own boss, an entrepreneur, doesn't work. It takes a lot of hustle. Mm-hmm. Because you people are like, oh, I want to work for myself. Think about what you say. You might be working 24 hours a day some days, nonstop, versus going to 9 to 5. People tell you what to do, get your check, get your benefits, move on.
Right.
Invest wisely and be done with it. So.
Right. But your dad had that entrepreneurial kind of mindset.
He was more so, he didn't as far as his thing was safety.
Right.
So he had that safe base of his job and then the investing in the stock market. And he was very savvy with that. Mm-hmm. So that worked. It wasn't like the traditional, I'm going to invest in this and leave it. It was like, I'm going to buy this, sell this, move this,
Right.
And it's funny because I do that a little bit now. I think I mentioned with you, I day trade. Mm-hmm. I do swing trade, I do long-term investing. It's like I manage one account and I have somebody else that, a financial advisor, he manages another account. He's local here. So, and it's always... And I'll always compete with him. Mm-hmm. So he's just trying to see, I was like, it's more so motivation. Hey, I got 30% return so far this year.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm like, what are you at? He's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I'm like, I told you about that. But, we averaged out right about 24. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. Yeah. He does the stuff that I called it a little bit above my head as far as the advanced options, things like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all right, I don't want to get into certain things because I know how I am. I'll dig and I'll go down the rabbit hole. I'll try to learn everything. So now I've just spent 24 hours of time when somebody else could do it, and I've just like wasted my time.
Right. Someone else has been doing it for 10 years.
So that's the whole thing is, the shiny light syndrome, the distraction. Mm-hmm. My thing is like, focus what I'm at.
Right.
Like, a couple of things when I work on something. Number one, do I like it? 2, what is the type of return I'm going to get on it? And am I having fun with it? Mm-hmm. So those are like three things, And the last one is what can I learn from it to actually scale, improve, do better. And that's how I look at relationships with people too. The biggest thing is people say, hey, can you do this for me? And I'm like, no. Because I know how they are. I'm like, no, you're going to stress me out. It's not going to be fun. We have a good relationship. Let's keep it there. Yeah. But the thing is, and it was thing of, I had to set up boundaries. It's okay to say no. Mm-hmm. Again, you can say I'm in my box. I might go out of the box, come back in the box.
Right.
But I'm like, all right, some people I see go here, there. I'm like, how are you're at every event. Okay. That sucks the life out of you. Mm-hmm. networking. I understand networking is good. That's great. If any new person that's doing it, go to every event. But then you have to decipher really quick what makes sense, what doesn't.
Yeah. Where's your time best invested?
Put it on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the best, like, typical thing. What can I get out of this? What can I learn of it? If it's you're not learning or growing, or people are pushing you to take action, go somewhere else.
Right.
Because I see a lot of people at these events, I see them year after year, and they're like, oh, I want to do all these things. And I'm like, so, and I'm like, oh, I remember you from last year. You said you wanted to do it. What have you done?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of that where, you go back to the same meetup 5 years later. And I'm still looking for that first deal. I've come close a few times, and they're like, man, other people have done hundreds.
But people have done hundreds, and the thing is, learn, do a deal, screw it up, learn from it, but keep going, or just understand the numbers, or just get somebody that's going to mentor you to look at something and be like, no.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But people get caught up with, social media, the internet. It's a blessing and a curse. Mm-hmm. There's so much free information, but there's a lot of wrong information. People don't know your struggle. I'm sure where you got, there were like bumps, and like, I'm sure you thought about giving up a couple of times.
Yep.
But people say, oh, Steven has a property management company. Okay, I can replicate what he's doing. Steven, give me the playbook. Okay, fine, I'll give you the playbook. But this is what I say. I can give you the playbook, but you're not going to be able to execute like me.
Right.
And not trying to be cocky, not trying to be, because it's how you pivot. I've dealt with situations, and again, the network. I have good people around me. So if I have an issue, I'll call and ask them, hey, I have the scenario, and we talk about it. And they'll do the same. Like, hey, let me run something by you. And I'm talking about, these are guys that are, to me, they're just like up here and I'm down there. And I always say I'm still down here because it's a thing of me constantly learning. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm this or that, I'm better, because it's like, there's always going to be somebody bigger, better.
Yeah. It's like training jiu-jitsu. The better you get at jiu-jitsu, the more you learn about jiu-jitsu, the more you realize you don't know anything. And it's like similar with running races. Mm-hmm. You run a 5K, or you run like a 10K or something like whatever, and you think like, all right, I just ran this long distance, I'm good. Then you realize people are running half marathons. Mm-hmm. You run a half marathon, then you realize people are running marathons. You're like, well, I've made it. Then you run marathons, you realize people are running ultra marathons. And so if you continue to put yourself in those different rooms and those different scales, you literally are never up here. And you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be, unless you're again, the top, the billionaires of the world, then you are at that point. But like, until you're there, there's so much more to learn. There's so much more to get there.
There's so much more to learn in life, period. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like this. If you're not learning, what's going on with your brain? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I was reading about something. Oh, man, what is it called? I can't even remember it. And it was funny. It was a term, something of rot. It's like, basically, you're so stressed, you're so overstimulated with work, life, and everything, you kind of shut down, and things that you need to address, you don't address it. And you just kind of sit there and tune out, like you'll just gaze at your phone, scroll, watch TV, and because you've overstimulated. Well, if you look at it, everything that we see, it overstimulates you. So that's why I said, some of it, I'm like, I used to always be checking my phone. Now I'm like, okay, I'll check the phone. It's not an urgent thing for me to respond to messages or pick up the phone anymore. Right. Unless it's somebody like I'm waiting for, or a banker or a contractor, giving an update. Okay, let me grab that call.
So you moved from a completely different country. Mm-hmm. You came over when you were 8 years old-ish, 7 or 8. What was school like growing up? Take us through high school. Like, were you playing sports? You have friends? Were you academic focused, or were you more socially oriented?
School was. So I started in PS. What was it, like 208? And that's elementary school, and then junior high school, 285. That was the middle school. And I've always been great in school, but it was always boring to me. Yeah. For me to sit there and like sit there, like, I was the type of person I could just look at something and read it and go take the test. But school, it wasn't interesting to me. and it just didn't keep my attention. I mean, I was in the, I played the flute, of the weirdest instruments, played the flute, things like that. I mean, really wasn't into sports back then, because like I said, how kids are now, back then when my parents came, they were just like hustling. So for them to know to do X, Y, and Z, or even say, hey, let's take you to this activity and things like that, it was a survival.
Right.
You know, my mother worked at a bank as a teller. She was in banking her whole life. She basically started like entry level, moved up to head teller, bank manager. My father worked at Bank of New York, became Bank of Mellon, or might be vice versa. He started like a clerk, and then one of the managers, his boss liked him, and then he ended up retiring to VP accounting. You know, and the thing is, the reason we retired because of the package that they gave him, because they were like going to pay him like something like, it was just ridiculous. I think I would have taken that too, but again, they were always working of like they were always in survival mode, and I think that that passed down to me, and not intentionally, but it's in my genes of I feel like I'm in survival mode. So it's like I always like, oh, things are going good, but in the back of me, my things are like, oh, what about this? What about that? Like a worrier. It's a good thing and a bad thing where I'm like, okay, so I have to sit there and run through the scenarios in my head and just kind of plan out.
Right.
So, and like, it's like, all right, let's see where this go. Like, so high school was good. High school was a challenge because I was just hanging out with the wrong people, got into a lot of trouble in high school. So, but again, high school wasn't, education-wise, was never challenging to me.
Yeah.
I came down here. My mother moved from New York to Virginia, and I think she just like looked on the map and said Virginia in 1990, and it was like she was tired of the hustle and bustle out of New York. And then my father and mother separated too, so that was another thing. And then she was like, "Hey, I'm taking you because I want you to do, because the way you're going, you're just going to get into a lot of trouble."
Was that when you were in high school?
Yeah.
So your parents said your mother moved to Virginia.
Yeah.
And they separated when you were in high school.
Yeah, I just started high school.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. So again, it was just like one of the things of just remember, I'm an immigrant, so I didn't really have friends. I had family. The thing about your family comes through, like one person comes, then the sponsorship, so you get the rest of your family here legally. So let's say that.
Right.
But it's just like the family, and then it lives in a certain part of in the Tri-Cities, like Queens, Brooklyn. That was the main thing as far as our family, because it's more of the Caribbean population. So you see Guyanese people, Jamaican people, Trinidadian people, all of that. So that's why, the foods in certain places in New York, in D.C., just wherever, it's like the same cultures and the food and things like that. So it was just like, it was brutal, because it was like, growing up, I mean, it was like, I knew who I was, but I was kind of lost, because I didn't belong to any clubs. I didn't do the things like kids do now. Like, my daughter now is on the basketball team, JV team. She just started high school. She has friends, and the thing is about making sure she's stable, don't uproot her. And those are the things that I really didn't have. So then came down here, from New York to Virginia in 1990, it was a culture shock.
Right.
So, and then got into more trouble down here. And then, high school was just like another thing of, I wasn't able to fit in.
Right.
And it was just like, hold on, you took me from one country to another country to another state.
Right.
Like basically the north, the south.
Right. Yep.
Culture shock right away. So it was just one of the things of, okay, I just kind of gravitated toward things that, I shouldn't have.
Right.
But I tell people, thank God for where I am now, because if it wasn't for God, I'd be in jail or dead. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know how to be blunt, because, if one person hears this and they going through something, hopefully that message they could resonate with it.
Right.
But the thing is, I just kept pushing and kept going and going and going. And the thing is, I started like working, and this is how I got into corporate America. I was in the restaurant industry, like cooking. The first job was kind of funny. I was actually made bagels, like literally made bagels from scratch, like flour, water, dough. And it was like, there was a way to pick up like 10 bagels and put it on the board, put it in the oven. So, it's funny to me now, like I really did those things, like
Right.
worked at a pizza place,
Yeah.
you know, like those pizzas that had the ovens, like the brick ovens,
Right.
the dome ones internally. So they were the company that was like the first ovens that came here to Richmond. So, and then it was just like, all right, let me go. Hey, what am I going to do? Work in the fast food industry? I'm like, all right.
Was this during high school or after high school?
Right after high school.
Did you go to college?
I did. So I went to J. Sargent Reynolds, graduated. Graduated with a marketing degree. Okay, grades were good. Then I went to VCU. I never finished. And I was an IT major at VCU. I did a internship at City Hall, and that was like, I don't think a lot has changed from then to now. Yeah. You know, just about how the systems are set up, things are just archaic, how they run it.
Right.
You know, from what I see, because I have to go down there and deal with people in City Hall now.
Right.
So I'm just like, it doesn't need to be this hard.
Right.
Like, why? Yeah. Why? But again, it was just like one of the things of just, I started working, had a child. And then it was like, all right, I got to go work and provide.
Right.
So, and then I tried to go back to VCU, but then work came, and I started in a finance company. I'm not going to say the name, but it's a Fortune 100 company based in Northern Virginia, but there's a lot of offices here, West Creek. And you probably know, I think I mentioned it to you before, but I wrote it down.
Yep.
So, and it was funny, before they were like a different bank, before they became spin-off. I started in the basement of the building.
Yeah.
It was like we're running those, like you had your credit card statements. I would run those machines that put it in the envelopes and do that.
Yeah.
So it was, and then I went to the mail room and things like that. And then I just started learning and moving up but I started as a temp service. So
Okay.
So that was the funny part. I started as a temp service because a buddy of mine had said, "Hey man, we're looking to hire. Go here." Right, because we were friends. We were party all the time. We'd go to D.C., whatever. But, you know, he was like, hey, why don't you come work with me? So it was funny because I was like, all right, cool. Eventually, they hired me on full time. So then I actually worked on the print room side where we printed the statement. I actually printed the checks, like live checks. I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, that's how it's done. So then I worked in the quality assurance and then started moving up. So it's like, and then we talked about re-engineering processes. So I started like the ground floor and started moving up where everything like started to come down.
Right.
Like, I'm like, all right. So I worked in the command center, worked on the Unix platform, networking, learned about, different systems, MVS, Unisys, and that's how like old some of those systems are. And then I just kept on going, went to another company, bigger company, which is global. Because at the time they got how companies come in, merge or whatever, they outsourced the operations and go. So I went there and then came back. And when I came back, I went into more of a technical role, setting up backups, infrastructure, storage, things like that. So backing up the whole company's data, sending it to another site. So if the disaster recovery and we need to fail over, we could pull the data back up in seconds. And then started moving up into management, managing people, managing processes. So I'm very thankful for the job because it helped me in how I do things now in my career. So, people don't think that, I'm at this dead end job. No, you're learning something. Learning project management, vendor management, managing your time.
Yeah. We've had a number of guests come on and say people diminish the what they've learned from W-2 job. Like people hate on W-2 so much because they have this investor entrepreneurial mindset that they don't take all of the lessons they could have learned from these massive companies and processes and systems and everything like that and bring that with them into their company.
And again, the thing is by processes, and that's what I kind of go on now, but it's like if you say W-2, that's a bad word or bad phrase. If you say invest in the stock market, that's terrible. I'm like, just go learn. Take the time to go learn. And the thing is, just go learn for yourself. Here's the thing. Instead of you picking up, go and look at YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, just go pick up a book.
Right. So throughout, you're very much on the corporate track right now, and you're doing well. You're moving up and everything.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
I was just like, I keep hearing, this is like it's a dead end. Where do you go?
Right. You probably are increasing your pay. You're probably feeling, I think, relatively stable at this point, I would assume.
Yeah.
What is your mindset anything towards like investing, or are you just like, hey, I'm corporate, I'm making a paycheck, I'm good to go, and I'm going to keep doing this for a while?
Actually, I thought I was going to be like my parents and just kind of go and retire and be good. When I was at VCU, I linked up with a buddy of mine, and he was actually an agent, real estate agent, investor, and this was back in 2006. But again, I didn't know about networking. I didn't know about all these groups, these meetups and things like that. I wish I would have been networking, or somebody would say, hey, let me show you how things are done, or, just kind of show you another way of what it is, because the most I knew of real estate and investing and meetups and seminars was the Carlton Sheet commercials. That was like the most I knew about it. But I kept buying properties. I bought in 2006. I bought it in 2008 when the market crashed. I didn't even realize that.
But were you buying investment properties, or you were buying like
No,
a house
I was buying investment properties.
Got it. Were you introduced to that through your friend at VCU?
Well, through my friend at VCU and then some other people. But then again, I didn't ask the questions. I didn't know what to ask.
Right.
Because I had a good job. I had, you could call it American dream, the nice house, white picket fence, certain things, and I was like, oh. I started getting things, and I equated that with success. But then, down the road, it was like material things that, so matter. What? Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Right. A couple of things, your health, your family, your faith, things like that matter. But, I just started buying rentals, and I accidentally in 2008, because this is when you could do loans you could actually get money back at closing. You could just like say, hey, I need to do all these repairs and get like a nice fat check. And so it's always been, so you think about it, I've been doing creative financing. Now I'm talking about it, didn't even know I was doing it. But again, I would take the money and buy another property. And then back then they had to pick and pay loan programs where you could actually do like interest only or a negative amortization, which was, I think, Countrywide, which is defunct now because of that program. Because a lot of people would do it. They'd move into these big houses. They would actually pay like some ridiculous low amount, and they had all this money, extra money, but they wouldn't take that money and go invest it. I was different. I would take that money and go invest it, buy another property, and put it in the stock market, and put something where I could like, okay, and then I would get out of those loans.
Are these distressed properties that you're buying, or are you just buying like kind of turnkey rentals at this point?
A little bit of both. Yeah. Again, I didn't know what distress meant. I just know it was a crappy property. I fixed it up. I didn't know about the whole BRRRR method. Right. I accidentally did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I bought it. When I talked to the bank, they was like, oh, we could do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, then I realized, oh, buy it. And that was the first property I got from the courthouse steps. I probably like refied that thing, cashed out a couple of times. But now I'm in an interesting position that a lot of my properties, the loans on it are so, as far as what's left, it's so low. Right. I'm like, I think one of your guests was mentioning that something about they like have so much equity in the property. Yep. What do they do now with it? I'm like,
what's the return?
Yeah. I'm like, do I pay it off? What do I do on it?
Yeah. So I have to unpack this a little bit. So when you had your W-2, I assume you were earning a high enough salary to go start investing. Were you using, like, you weren't getting private money at this point and stuff like that,
I didn't know what private money was. Even.
That's what I assume, right?
Yeah. I was going, again, I went to the guy who was like, hey, no, don't go to the bank, the regular traditional financing, go to the commercial side. So very early in my career, I understood what commercial was. Right. They just looked at the property itself, and then they were doing the whole DSCR thing. I didn't know it back then, right? They're looking at the property itself and how income the property produces, everything. Probably closing the property had to be in like 2 weeks, because again, it was a courthouse deal.
How did you learn, like, where were you getting your information from at this point? Because you didn't know about meetups. You didn't have this massive network around you. How were you, was it in podcasts?
No, it wasn't even did. It was just like accidentally being in places.
And people were just dropping nuggets every now and then.
Yeah, and it was like talking about the banks and things like that. And then it was like, all right, I like had another realtor. Then she was like, hey, why don't you do X, Y, and Z? And then she helped me along the way because she was like dealing with investors. But again, I didn't understand the whole thing about what that meant, and I don't think I stopped to ask the questions. Again, I have the W-2 and I'm running with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm working hard over there. I'm working a lot of hours. This was just like supplemental income as far as me for invest to save and things like that. So, again, I didn't have a lot of free time back then.
You're learning about construction at this point too, right? Like house maintenance and repairs, or did you have any background in that?
Yeah, I was learning about that stuff.
Learned?
Yeah. I was learning, and I learned with being my mother, with my mother, because my mother was here, and she would be like, "Hey, we need to get this fixed, and why don't you see you could do it?" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine. Like, change the light bulb. Okay, change this, do this. Something's leaking. Okay, let me go look at it. And again, this goes back to, I could look at something and be like, I could sit there and just look at it and be like, this is how they put it. What if I take it apart and just change out all the parts in it, or put a new one? So that's how I actually started learning how to do things like that.
Right.
And then I was always technically inclined. And again, I had guys that I worked with that they were like the technical nerds. I'm like this. It's a running joke. I'm an undercover nerd. I get in there and I'll say, hey, okay, let me see, but again, that takes a lot of time. But I was with guys that they would actually write code to different, like, the old satellite cards and unlock the whole thing. And I was like, so I'm sitting there just, like, working with these guys, and they're like they go home and this is what they do.
Right.
But then they're like, hey, I brought a card for you. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, what are you doing later? Let me show you how to do it. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, so that was like one of the things that and then it just started, like, I started digging and I'm like, oh, crap.
Right.
Like, oh, this is a whole nother world.
Right.
So, and that's like the technical side of things. And then again, with the real estate of, hey, all that. But again, a lot of it, like the financial side of it, and my dad and I always kept in contact, so we would talk about things, and I was always kept abreast of what needed to be done, like investments, finance. And then realtors, I would talk to different people and talk to some guys, and they'd say, this is what you're doing. And then I would go to the bank and say, hey, can I do X, Y, and Z? Mm-hmm. And just kind of happened that way.
So you're building a rental portfolio. You started flipping in 2016?
2016, yeah.
What was the drive? Just needing more capital, or were you just running into deals that made more sense to flip?
No, it was just like, I came to a point in my life, I was like, and this is going to sound so bad when I say this, I'm like, he's doing it, and he's one of the not brightest people that I know, and he's very successful. I'm over here killing myself. But again, this is one of the things, he took action. I'm stalling because of analysis paralysis, because I think I'm so smart. I've been in this corporate world. I've been doing X, Y, and Z, and it's just changing. It's just, that's why I said it's just being around people that say, number one, they challenge you. And I have people that'll sit there and then we'll go back and forth. I'll be like, but that's one of the things I think I'm excel at. You and I could go back about something, and then I'll still process that information later on. Within a couple of days, I'll call you back to follow up and be like, you know what? You were exactly right. I didn't think about it like this. But now if I take what you told me and this and morph it, now we have something else.
Right.
But a lot of people are like, no, they kind of just like stand their ground.
Right. So you're doing all this. You still have your W-2 job, which you're successful in at this point.
And I kept moving up.
Which is impressive to do both. And I mean, that's a lot of work to put this in, to buy rentals, to do flips, to have your successful W-2 job and continue to get advanced and promoted. You had mentioned in 2019 you faced some adversity.
Well, I'm going to back up before then. So
all right.
You asked what got me into flipping. What got me into flipping was I went through a very challenging divorce. Okay. Because that was the first time I was married. We had a baby, didn't work out. We're good. We're good now because we co-parent, and I've learned to sign there's certain things I speak on, but it's more so about my daughter. So certain things, I'm not going to sit there and fight with you and things, and especially not going to say anything bad in front of my daughter about you. Not going to. It's like, it's not worth it. I want to make sure she grows up, she's successful, she has or goes where she needs to be in life. Right. But so that was like one of the things, because I needed an outlet, because I was like, I actually thought that life was over. I failed at marriage. And then at that time, this is when I was coming into my relationship with God. I mean, a couple of years back, but it was more so I was like, I failed in his eyes. I was like, I think this is like a sin. I'm like, what did I do?
Right.
But again, I'm so private, and I didn't have a lot of friends. I have people that are close. I have friends now, but not like how you hang out and all that stuff. I go to the gym and work out.
Right.
I'm more so a loner, but I'm sociable, introvert. So it's just kind of weird. But it's just like for me to go talk to somebody about things, and I think it's just our culture. It was like men don't express themselves. Men don't, from that Caribbean culture, we don't do certain things. It's a taboo. So, but then going back, I started flipping like 2016, 2015, bought it, flipped. And 2019, my mother passed. And I didn't realize I actually watched her pass away. So I didn't realize how close intertwined I was with her because she was on dialysis. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she would have to go to dialysis. So she would have down days, the following days are up days, then rotate down day, up, down. So it was just hard. And that was the challenge, just losing her. And I didn't realize that she filled so much of my life. There was a void. So then I just started to, let's say in 20 and 21, things just started going downhill as far as that grieving period. But then I didn't want to say I was grieving. Right. It was hard for me to say, I'm grieving. Right. And then it was just like, oh, damn. I was like, but at the time I kind of slowed down with the flipping, and the flips kind of, died down to 1 or 2 a year. But when I was flipping, it was more so I just looked at the spread on it. So I could still flip less and make more than some people.
So when I think to your point, there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with mental health issues that we'll never know about, that will never mention it about it. So I kind of like talking about that a little bit to people who are willing to talk about it and go into it to some degree, because I think it's important for people to understand how other people have gotten out of it, because it is a dark hole. It's a very dark hole, and it's hard to see your way out, where everyone around you could see what you need to do to get out of it, but it's almost impossible for you to see it. Yeah. Especially if you don't have a big network around you.
Correct.
Then you're by yourself. You're on an island, and even though like the most obvious things that you need to do to get out of it, you're just blinded to it. So if you're dealing, the loss of your mother, you've had a divorce years earlier, you've had this awesome success otherwise, but now you're getting hit after hit that are some really substantial hits. You're starting to feel depressed, anxiety, whatever trauma that you're dealing with. What did that look like on a day-to-day for you? Because you mentioned like your real estate activity went down. Like, what were you doing on a day-to-day now that was different? And then what I really want to know is, how did you identify what you needed to do to get out of it and then take action to get out of it?
I think if you have that circle around you and people see you going down, some people actually don't say anything. It's just like they don't know how to broach that subject. And then some people would say something, but again, it's a tricky situation. But you as the person you have to be willing to accept feedback, criticism, what they see. Yep. If you're not willing to accept that becomes the challenges. As far as,
That's a great point.
I was doing well at work, and then my performance went down. I started to isolate. I put on a ton of weight, like a ton of weight. From what I have now, I was 60 pounds heavier.
Wow.
Actually, I'm going to post something. I made a video of it, and you could actually see where I was like, that fat guy. Oh, the fat guy. Like, and like, that was never me. But it was just like, I learned to accept it, and I thought it was like, okay. Right. But now I come back, and I'm like, okay. And don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. Every day is still a challenge to get up and get going. But I realized I didn't want to get up anymore. I just kind of want to isolate. I had to take time off for work to deal with that. And then I had to go see, and one of the things I started to see counselors. I had to take, and then I found out this too. One counselor you could talk to, they can't write you a prescription. The counselor that writes a prescription don't know what you need, so you become a guinea pig until they hit that jackpot of what works for you, right? And I'm because I made the joke, and she actually said, "You're absolutely right." She said, "I don't know what's going to work for you. We're just going to try and figure it out."
Right.
I'm like, so
That's some weird medicine, some weird stuff that they play with.
dude, it's beyond weird because it's like your body normally produces things or chemicals to help you fight and deal with things, and those chemicals, you could take a medicine, and what it does, it increases that in your body, and you feel this high or feel, but then it impacts another thing. So.
So then you need two medicines to balance them out.
And then I was on meds. You know, it was just like I was a zombie. But then I was like, oh, I kind of like this, like this feeling, but I was not getting anything done. And then, like I said, I was seeing one counselor and then going through it, and then she told me, and her and I we're friends, and we have a good relationship. It took her a year, and she said. She got quiet. She just said, "I'm so proud of you." She said, "The real Trevor finally showed up after a year," and I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "You have tried to bully our conversations. You've tried to stray my conversations this way and go this way and play these games." And she said, "It's been a challenge working with you, and you finally broke down and showed up today." And I was like, "Oh," but again, this goes back. I had to put on a certain face, put on my shield of armor, put on my uniform like I'm going to play a sport in life. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I was like, that word, that V word, I was like, wait, no. And she used it. And I was like, And I was like, okay. It's okay to you say, you know what, I don't feel good. Have that breakdown. But then you just have to be able to be willing to talk about it. And then people say, you know what, I'm not having a good day.
Right.
Or you mad about it? No, I'm just not having a good mental day. But it was like with that, and then I think that was the breakthrough, and then certain things just started happening again. And then we started playing with the medicines, and then I started changing doctors because I was like, I started becoming an advocate for myself. And after that started happening, I started looking at researching stuff online, and then I think that's when AI came into play, and then you could put information into any AI tool, ChatGPT. I think that's the easiest one for people. But the thing is, you have to put factual data into it. You can't just say, go pull this. You have to kind of prompt it to give you what you need out of it, because they'll pull wrong data. They'll pull. And the thing is, you have to question the data. You used to have to go research it. So that's what I started building. I built a whole profile about me, about everything going on. And it said, oh, you've done this. This happened on this day. And it's like a database. And it was like scary of like, so right now when I go to the doctor, I just take my results back. I throw it in there. And they're like, oh, we looked at this. He said you've improved. This is an area you need to tackle. These are, and it'll give you the questions you need to ask. Right. So I mean, it's just a bit like more natural meds and herbs, but then that's a whole nother ball game of just not playing, of eating better. Because all your vitamins and things comes from food. So you need to focus on that. Like I take mainly. I take a multivitamin, but it's I think methylated or whatever it's called. It breaks down in your body quicker and get absorbed into your bloodstream. CoQ10, fish oil, vitamin D. That's it.
And then you started. I assume, like, did you start working out again?
Started working out. Started getting in the
gym. Got
out
the house.
Yeah, started working out. Started getting in the gym.
When did you start building your network? Like, is this around the time where you started meeting people too, like going to meetups and stuff like that?
Like in 2019, I believe. That was, I think that was my first deal maker.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
So it's just like, in this whole real estate thing, I'm very much a newbie.
Yeah.
But again, I've valued and cherished the relationships with people and taken their advice. Like some people have been like, hey, you could be doing a whole lot better than what you're doing. And they'll call me out on it.
It's a good room to be in.
Dude, it was uncomfortable, still uncomfortable to this day. But I look back at it and I laugh because I still don't move the fastest. And I always try to make sure everything is going to be right instead of just going with it and just fixing it. But I've learned that if I don't plan it out, those mistakes that you fix, they can be costly.
Right.
So, but again, it's just getting that system down. Okay, this is what happened when you build a house. This is the first thing. This is, you get from the city what you can build, what you're zoned for, what they're going to allow.
Right.
And kind of go from there.
So I want to get into some of your new construction, that transition. I know it started sooner than when I'll say you were forced as to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the transition out of the W-2 and what that looked like, and then let's get into the new construction stuff that you're doing now. So I believe 2023, your job was eliminated.
Yeah, October 2023. And I'll mention it. October may be one of those pivotal months in my life. Job was eliminated. And they're like, hey, don't want you here, whatever. And then it was just like, okay. And then I just kind of stepped back. I fell back into this weird mental space crap again because I took another blow.
Yep.
And again, I'm like, why am I've been successful so far, but I'm failing now. But again, it was like, all right, let's get out of that, kind of keep growing. But the thing is, when I was going through all this stuff, one of the things that I inadvertently did, it was not a plan. I started buying infill lots, and started buying infill lots and just like stockpiling on it. I still have some now that I.
What was your thought process behind that? Because they don't readily produce income. Why was that attractive for you?
I get there. So after I got let go, I mean, I had a nice severance package. I had the insurance, COBRA and stuff. It was expensive. I'd save money. So one of the things when I was flipping and doing all that, I would take the money and just like hoard the money in the bank. I didn't kind of blow it. But again, it was just like, all right, let me be wise with my investments. So when I started flipping and then bought the first lot, and then I saw the return and how I built, because I basically managed the whole project myself. The first bill, it was under my name, and I managed the whole project. I was able to say, this is the process, actually learning, hey, before you actually start digging, you get the survey company to come, and these are where they're going to pin to dig the footing. All right, after that, and this was a time that it rained like 2 weeks straight, so the guys would run out with a pump to suck the water out before the inspector came. You know what? It rained again while the inspector was there, so he would fail it. So I was like, oh, okay. It's a planning thing of, if it's hurricane season, maybe you don't want to break ground or delay it, So it was just like one of those things of, okay, again, once I saw it, the project ran longer than what I thought, but the numbers were so good on the return. I was like, wait, I think I'm on to something there. And then there are like other mentors that I have in other groups. They were like, one of the things that was said was like, don't chase every deal. Look at the deals that bring you to a very good return. So that one deal that you do will probably bring you the same amount of money if you do 5 deals.
Right.
And then it took a while to click. And then it finally clicked.
Right.
So then I started building on it, and then I went back after the first build. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know why. I think I went back into what I knew, that comfort thing, right? Again, I'm still trying to get it moving about, being an entrepreneur, because now I have to self-motivate myself. I got to worry about other things. So kind of kept going. Now we're like, okay, this is the process. So it just started. Then I had a flip experience with a partner, kind of vanished on me, and then came back at the end when I finished up and said, hey, I never said I wanted to sell this. So this was like, that's why I'm like, it's like, again, but this is where one of the things that should have did more homework, due diligence, had everything laid out in the agreement. That's why I say it's funny that I'll say it. You know what? Here's the thing: if me and somebody do a deal again, and we're not even on the same page, and whatever, you're not doing deals, and you want to do a deal, it'll be a 51-49. As far as that's going to be the ownership, because that gives me control to say what happens. We could split the profits 50-50, but it just at 1% to say this is what we're going to do. That's a big thing. Even a 0.5%. But I was like, but you learn from it. And after that, I kind of paused again, and then got into building, and then got into a wholesale deal. And I was like, all right. Then I was like, started getting my rhythm of building now, and that's where I'm at now. It's just like building and looking at more of, like last year I just did 2 new construction projects at the same time. Numbers were good on it. So I'm like, all right. And then the lots that I built on, because of the first parcel I got it at the tax sale. So it was actually already deeded correctly to subdivided into 3 lots. All I had to do was go to the city, fill out the letter form, what you could build. I forgot what it's called. But then they're like, oh, yeah, it's already grandfathered in. I sent an email to somebody like, oh, let's put it in the GIS system. Let's give it a tax number. Yeah, that's good and bad because the tax, as soon as it gets a tax number, you get taxed.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, but it was just like, hey, okay, so things just started happening, but again, I didn't see it like, oh wow, okay. It was just like, oh man, things aren't moving fast enough. So it's just like, all right, let me slowly move these things along. And
how did you transition to build? Because I know a lot of people want to do that, and a lot of people, we were talking before we were recording, a lot of people have jumped into that now. How did you get the confidence to like go? Obviously, you were flipping, you were doing rehabs, you've done burrs, you had a rental portfolio. What allowed you to believe that you could now start building from the ground up?
So the first property was like great property. I had like some guys that have been building for a while actually come and look at my property because they're like, you built this property over here with all of this, like metal railing, metal awnings, more very custom as far as your kitchen layout, things like that. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something. They're like, you don't see it in these areas. You see it more on Cary Street or something. Like somebody told me that, and I was like, okay, is if I start building over there, I could take what I learned from over here and just basically step it up a notch. But again, I just kind of came back and then I looked at it and say, hey, I can play with it a little bit. These are the finishes, those are the finishes. So the running joke is custom specs. And somebody was like, there's no such thing as custom specs. I was like, I have custom specs because I'm giving you stuff that you will never get on a regular spec home. And they're like, oh, okay. So now it's like, yeah, you get a custom spec. You get like a pot filler. That's standard on the houses. You get on the cabinet lights, things like that. You'll get like granite, quartz, leather granite, things like that. So, you're getting a wine cabinet. Like the first one I did, a wine and cigar cabinet. So, things like that. You're not getting that in the spec.
Right. So you build some unique things. Yeah, like it looked pretty cool.
So awesome. I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, cool. And then I kind of linked up with another agent. And the thing is, we were just like going back and forth because he had a property that I got, Southside. He had a new construction property. And then we started talking, right? And then he ended up selling the house that I had a bad partnership for. And then I didn't realize who he was connected to. So that was a powerhouse team right there. And then he's connected to some of our same people. So it just things started like aligning. I'm like, oh, okay. So then the conversation started happening. And then the different groups I'm part of, and like they're paid groups. So, pay your money and you get what you get out of it. And I've actually went into like some commercial groups now. I'm looking at, there's like some landlord something group coming up meeting. I said I'm going to start attending those because I want to be a better landlord. I mean, I commend what you do. Some days I'm like, Lord. It's a blessing and a curse. It has helped me get where I am today, landlording, but at the same time it's just frustrating. But then I've also been able to help people. Because, and let's back this up, in 2008, the market again changed, so the rents weren't there. So remember, I took out these loans and took cash out of the deal. So I didn't have a lot of equity. Equity went down, so I'm like, how do I cover the mortgages? So I inadvertently went into this whole co-living thing, renting out rooms. So I've been doing it for so long. I see that's the hot trend now. And I like the term co-living. Back then they were calling it rooming houses, boarding houses. So, but the thing is, I always was very on top of it. I would check and whatever. If there's a problem, I'd show, hey, let me talk to you. We have a problem. I said, we don't do that here. I was like, I was intense in your face because I'm like, didn't know how to do it. And that was like the only thing I knew how to do was like just be go in your face type thing. So it's funny, and then I started working with organizations and helping people and, and that kind of smut up where, again, it's funny how you are in, let's say, a situation like W-2 learning and you don't even realize what you're doing. But then later on, you're like, oh, because right before Christmas, a partner and I, we were working on group homes. So we got licensed. So now we'll have staff there to help people that can't manage themselves 24/7. So you think about it, now we're taking the whole co-living and stepped it up a notch, right? So, and these are like houses, we just redid one, got it ready to go. So now the goal is the first one goes, how it goes. All the other rentals, we're just going to redo them. And a lot of it is just making it more modern,
Right.
paint, flooring, things like that, and then convert those over too.
Right. Interesting.
So it's just like, things gradually progressed. Like, didn't plan for it to happen,
Right.
but it happened.
Yeah. It's all that tuition you put in over the years, like everything you've learned and everything kind of accumulates and builds, and you just adapt from there.
Stephen, people don't understand the tuition that you put in. I don't think you understand it, but I don't think people understand the things you deal with, things that, and it's not like I came from a family of money and all of that to could just write me a check or whatever. And again, I didn't know about hard money, private money. I mean, to this day, I've only did one private money loan because a lot of deals I did the commercial side financing or finance with my money. Right. So because the thing is, I was like, I always, and people say, if you need financing or whatever, okay, that's fine. But in the back of my head, I always say, what if I mess up somebody else's money?
Right. Yeah, it's terrifying.
I'm like, that scares me to death. I'm like, I don't want to show my face. I would sell something. I would give you, I want to make it right, but I never want to see, and I never want that to ever come back. That to me, that's an embarrassment. Right. It happens, but again, to me, I'm like, I should have planned better.
Right.
And that's how I look at things. I mean, but some people do it every day and they're fine with it.
Right.
But me, I'm like, no, I made a mistake. How do I make it right?
Right. What do you think is next for you? Like, what's your future outlook over the next 3 to 5 years? What is really exciting for you that you want to start kind of looking in that direction?
Well, I think I mentioned it earlier. Saturday, we just got the approval, get our commercial and residential contractor's license. So, again, things fall into place. Didn't even know it. We had the company, we set it up, have everything set up. So I think that's the next step is just like, all right. So now, definitely continue to build, but it's still using the same people. Things are just going to change a little differently. Our percentage is going to change, but the thing is I could do more. I have had a lot of people ask me about doing work for them, building for them. I got a good friend of mine. She was like, hey, had a problem with a contractor. And then she's like, hey, can you do a build? I said, this is the situation. But now that we have the license, I don't have to pull somebody else in. And my vision and their vision may not line up. So now she's excited about it because it's a custom house, it's a nice ranch, and I looked at it and I was like, okay. And then the thing is, I realized that one of the things that she didn't sit, she came over and we pulled up the plans on the TV, like a 75-inch, so you really sit. And I was like, hey, why is this here? What is this? And she was like, nobody ever asked me that. So I realized, people are doing things and not being questioned, and they're just going along with what people give them. So that's why I say, I think there's a niche forming. And again, I had somebody else call me, like another guy who came really cool. He said, I talked to this other guy. He said he got a buddy. A big builder started for them, a hole in the ground for 6 months. It's $1 million project. He said he's trying to get out of it. Would you be interested in it? A couple of weeks ago, I've been like, no, I'm not. Now I'm like, we can sit down and talk. It's the network that I have.
Right.
I can have the right people in place.
Right.
So now I can have those conversations, and then people don't even realize that you do any type of work like that without a license in the state of Virginia, it's a crime.
Right.
And the thing is, I want to make sure I'm protected. I want to make sure you're protected. So, again, we talked about doing more, and then going into the commercial side of things. Commercial, we'll see. I mean, there's some opportunities that people have been asking us, some contracts and things like that. Again, it was just like we needed the paperwork, the insurance, and all these things. So that's where I think it's going.
You have your business name yet?
That business name is Piano Development.
How do you spell that?
You know what? It's been so long. Let me make sure I spell it correctly. Piandao.
Okay.
So that's going to be as far as the construction side, the construction of, and I have a consulting side, which is Golden Arrowhead Development and Consulting.
Say that one more time.
Golden Arrowhead Development and Consulting.
Awesome. Wonderful.
So, and that's how I say, if people want to come and consult and, mentorship and things like that, that's where I kind of funnel everything into. And then I have like other companies, holding companies.
For sure.
Things that, I break it up as the rentals. And And right now with being self-employed, excuse me, I am learning about taxes. I'm like,
it's
oh,
fun.
that's
it's a lot of fun, man.
I'm like, it's funny. I'm like, this is the amount of money I need to make. I can't make no more. Yeah. I'm like, that pushes me. I'm like, how do I move money around legally? So
it's brutal.
It's one of the things. That's why I say it's a continuous learning thing. If you aren't learning, you're rotting away. Oh, it came to me. The term that I was looking at, and then bed rot.
Okay.
Bed rot.
Yeah.
Like you kind of shut down, just scroll, and but that's been going on for a while, where social media sucks you in and just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So
you got to be careful. I mean, like, it definitely serves its purpose and can provide a ton of value. But the second I catch myself, there are sometimes I let my brain run away with it, depending on if I need a break. I mean, there's definitely I can go watch some Netflix at the end of the day to decompress and stop thinking about everything. But for the most part, my brain is on 99% of the day. If I catch myself in the middle of the day when I got things to do and I'm like doom scrolling, there's none of that.
It is. It's just like, okay, how did I do that? Because it's like, and then you accidentally click on something, or something shows up, and then, why am I getting videos on cats? Cats and dogs, and because I'm like, okay, now I exactly clicked on something about creating stuff, videos and pictures and AI, and now I'm like, oh crap.
You could be building a mixed use building, or your team's waiting on your phone call, and you're looking up like a 3-legged cat.
I'm like, okay, but it's funny. I mean, I think that's the next thing, is getting into mixed use.
Awesome.
Slowly, but more. And the thing is just going to kind of be for me, but it's just kind of, I think that just opens up the road. So I think 5 years from now, it might be you remember we had the conversation? Right. If you're doing the podcast, it might be fun to bring people back and say, hey, we spoke, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And again, and I still invest. I trade and play around with stuff. So that's one of the things that I look at, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Where can people find you?
It's funny, on Instagram. And I had to write it down because I was like, what is my name?
I couldn't tell you what mine is.
I'd be like, it's TrevP_REI. So it's TREVP_REI.
Good. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm sure there's plenty of people who are listening to this and want to contact you and learn more about what you're doing in your consulting work and things. There's so many people that want to get out there and start either investing or building or just like get their first bird on or things like that. Any final thoughts?
I mean, here's the thing. If you want to do it, so a couple of things. I don't have a blueprint to this. It was just like, to me, we were talking about it, and I think you could see it. It was just like being in the right place. It was just by accident, but you're looking back and things that seemed like it progressed real nicely.
Like it was planned.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, now that we're talking about it, it was like, oh, I could create a nice timeline off of it. But no, it's just like taking the opportunity to do things. I mean, you may not be the fastest person to take action, or you may question things, because I had somebody like question stuff. Just take some action, or just go around the right people to do it. I mean, look at what you want to do. Kind of have your plans and see where you are, because life may not be that bad. I think what people may be doing is comparing themselves to what they see on social media, which is, social media.
And they don't see the years of struggles that you went through and the adversity you faced behind the build that you're building now. Like, they see this beautiful property that you're building, and they see you walking around with your shades and like working with contractors and stuff like that, but they don't see the years and years and years of effort and tuition and struggle that you've went through to get to that point.
Correct.
And so they immediately are like, man, I'll never become that. But they got to go through some sort of journey.
And the thing is, if you reach out to me about mentoring, consulting like that, I'm gonna have questions about, hey, what are you doing? Like, where are you working? Like I have young people. They reach out to me about guys that working as engineers at Lockheed Martin, things like that. They just came out of college and I was like, okay, why can't you do both for a little while?
Right.
Or why can't you build something? And then one of my next questions: do you invest in their retirement plans? Because some of that money they just match. Right. Take advantage of that now.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, here's the thing. I think before I left, because I knew the writing was on the wall, so I was planning for that for a while. I was actually contributing, I think, 25% of my check, learning to live like without that, but way below my means. So it was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just look at it and just kind of plan on it, because life is not that bad. You may have to downsize. You may have to just cut out the things you don't need.
Right.
And say, hey, this is what I go from.
Right. Yeah, it's I think it's very obvious to some people, but not obvious to others, that it really is about the decisions you make. And the more you can take ownership of what happens to you in life, the more it gives you control to dictate what happens to you in life. But the second you say everything happens to you and it's out of your control, then life is bad. Right. But you have to realize that, like, the majority of life, you can control what happens to you, how you respond to it. And
Exactly.
make things happen.
If you're going to play the victim, you know what's going to happen? The universe is going to look at you and make you the victim.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing is, like, talk about abundance and things like that. The thing is, visualize and dream. I still do that now. If I have a bad day, certain things, I picture myself in certain places, and just do it. I mean, again, but the thing is, you just and then one of the other things, you just kind of be careful who you're around, because some people can pull on you the negativity, and then say, hey, you have a plan. It may not be a perfect plan, because you could tweak it and then figure out what you like, but you don't need to be in 10 different things.
Right. Yeah. I like it, man. Thank you so much, Trevor, for coming on the podcast. I think you are an inspiration to our community and the stuff you're doing. I think you going through some of the challenges and being able to speak openly about it is important. I think a lot of people can learn from that. Thank you for coming on the podcast, sharing your story. And it was great learning more, and I look forward to staying in touch and seeing what you're doing over the coming years.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me, and this has been a great conversation.